Look, Ma, no hands.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey there, and welcome to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. This is Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek. Hey, happy Monday to you all. So excited to be here. I have a really cool podcast because we have found out that natural pesticides have come of age. That's right. They're all grown up, folks. They now have to comply with just about all the other pesticides on the market. And the new labeling laws by the EPA is going to require natural pest control or pesticide manufacturers that are exempt from registering their pesticide to actually label their pesticides in a whole new way. And I think this is wonderful because it's going to cut out all the snake oil salesmen just basically selling junk products all over the web where we have seen them, and have to comply and actually be transparent about what their product actually does and what it includes. So I think it is an awesome decision by the EPA to actually do this. And, well, we're going to talk about what it actually entails because I think it's important for you as a pest control professional to be able to have these discussions with your clients and have all the tools that you need to be able to have that discussion. So we've put links to all this. Don't be overwhelmed by it. There is a lot of information, but don't be overwhelmed by this because it's going to be pretty simple actually to be able to digest it. But before I get into that, I want to thank a couple of people this week for being part of our podcast. I like to thank Bricker Pest Control out of Bay City, Texas, for listening for the podcast and liking us on Facebook. They're following us on Facebook. I'd like to thank you for that. So big shout out to you guys out there in Texas, and thank you for listening. Also, I'd like to thank Northeastern Exterminating out of Brooklyn, New York, and they're a big follower of us on Twitter. And they're always sharing our stuff and liking it. And, thank you. Thank you for following us and for sharing our stuff and liking it. It's really encouraging that you guys are doing that. And I would like to go to Brooklyn just to see how you get pest control done in one of those high rises that are in public housing. And we have 1 million apartments in there. I like to see how that actually gets done. So one day when I get to travel and go to Brooklyn, I'm going to hit you guys up to go on a ride with you to see how that's done, because that would be very, very interesting. We got our share here of problems in public housing and trying to deal with that. And so that's gonna be pretty neat. So, hey, thank you guys for listening to us. And I really do appreciate that. Also, I want to give you the tech tip. I'm going to have to sing this out. Tech tip, because that's the only way I can get it out because I stumble over my words. But this tech tip of the week is brought to you by Audible. Hey, if you like listening to good content, you're going to love Audible. Get a free month, get a free trial, free download, just by going to audibletrial.com/pestgeek and get a free book and listen to it on us. We're greatly appreciated. It will greatly help the podcast. So thank you for doing that. Also, the tech tip of the week is, you got it, blue booties. Yes, if you're doing interior pest control, and here in South Florida, we're walking around on lawns where there's wet all the time, it's muddy, and you get into people's houses and you look at that marble white floor that you can eat off of and you can see yourself and comb your hair on it, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to walk across that. No, we carry booties. The blue plastic booties are awesome. It's a great way to give great customer service because it's just showing how considerate you are about not dirtying their floor. So anytime we go inside a customer's house, we're wearing our booties to make sure that we don't dirty their floors. And, they're really, really cheap. They're disposable, couple of pennies per customer, great customer service. We got a link to a couple of them there on our website. So check it out. And we're going to be putting it also in the tool section of the website. So I think it's a great way to protect the customer's property and show some consideration and give great customer service. If you're looking to increase your likes and your ranking, it would get great reviews if you can get one of those from a customer about how you actually took care of their floors. We used to go in all the time and at the beginning, and people are like, can you take off your shoes before you go upstairs? And I hate taking off my shoes. So I said, no, I'll just get booties, and that way we solve that problem. So that, there you go, guys. Just a quick, easy solution to take care of an immense problem for some people. And I think it's a great way. I want to talk about this new EPA ruling. On December 28th of 2015, the EPA ruled on a transparency of ingredients in minimum risk pesticides. If you don't know what a minimum risk pesticide, basically it's a classification of a pesticide that contains natural ingredients that are exempt from registration by the EPA. Therefore, you can literally start a product in your living room by just complying with the active ingredient list. And if you get mint oil and you can mix it with an emulsifier, put a label on it, and you're in business because you don't have to register that product. And that has given rise to a lot of online, basically, fear-mongering about pesticides and how, you can't, you should use their product because, it cures everything from killing, bed bugs to curing scurvy at the same time if you drink it. And it's just a nightmare online to try to, when I get customers that call me all the time saying, well, I want your product to be natural because I read this blog about this and that, and I need it. And then once I explain to them, I just had one over the weekend. Customer calls me and they have, in their backyard, they have no-see-ums. They're saying they have no-see-ums. They could have mosquitoes. They're right on lakefront property. They got about 17,000 square feet of property, and they want to spray it, but they don't want to use a chemical because they got little kids, and they want to use a natural product. And we carry a natural line for those types of customers, and the products work really well. They're made by big manufacturers that already have this labeling in place. They have all this stuff going on. They're great companies that we like their product. And I explained to them, I said, yeah, we can do it, no problem. And they wanted me to come out like every 3 months and spray it, thinking this product's going to last to kill all these insects in the yard. And I said, look, the reality is that it's going to last about 5 days. You can get 7 days. If you're lucky as a repellent, you could probably get 14 days. We're getting rain. We're in January, and we're getting rain every day. It feels like summer. Okay, so you're not going to get it to last. And when we tell them that it's the same price as the synthetic product, but they got 17,000 square feet to treat, we got to treat everything outside. They're like, oh my God, I got to spend every week that kind of money. I said, well, that's the reality of using a natural product. It's not going to last as long as a synthetic out there in the environment. And so people are thinking these products are going to work just the same way. And the reality is they're not. But if you're wanting that alternative, it's available to you. But that's what makes it really expensive, is you got to keep reapplying them. And as a professional pest control business, we don't look at just the chemical. We have, I have, I think, 37 line items on my P&L that I have to pay as a pest control company to be able to apply that product to your property, when you can just go to the store, buy it, and apply it yourself, and it's safe for you to apply it according to the label. You can do that yourself, and yeah, you can save 90% by doing it yourself, because you don't have to comply with federal law and state law, and you don't have to get insurance, and you don't have to have a website, and you don't have to have marketing, and you don't have to have workman's compensation, and you don't have to pay your employees federal FUTA and SUTA and all the other bad words that they talk about in pest control. I mean, in taxes. They have more 4-letter words than I use in tax code. So you don't have to do all that. And it's very, this notion that bloggers go out there and they start talking about how, pest control companies are ripping you off by charging you this amount of money is, you don't know all the compliance. You don't know that we have to, just like nurses every year have to go get CEUs. Well, we have to spend 8 hours in a CEU class every year. Costs us thousands of dollars to take the day off to go get these classes and comply with all the regulations that we have to comply with. And it makes it seem like these natural products are going to solve everybody's problems and that you're just going to apply it once and it's going to be gone forever because you got rid of it. And it just isn't the reality of what we do in the industry. And most people are ignorant of what we do in this industry. And part of this podcast for the new year, I've made it my goal to help this podcast also educate the public, because we're getting a lot of email, we're getting calls, we're getting from people that are property managers and they're property owners, and we're getting them from vector control specialists that are working for the government, and we're getting emails on that. So there's more than just the pest control industry listening to this, because I figured they go online and they try to listen to it and say, oh, I know how I'm going to learn to do my own pest control, and I'll just listen to this podcast. And you can. There's nothing stopping you from doing your own pest control except, your state laws and your federal laws that you might be violating if you don't apply the product exactly. Like if you have a business and you decide you're going to apply pest control to your own business, you might enter into a whole bunch of state and federal regulations that you violate by doing that. There's a big difference between doing pest control in your home and doing pest control commercially. But I just wanted to throw that out there because, this is the, again, bloggers are out there trying to make money selling products, and they're fear mongering, and they're using, wording that just instills fear in everybody to use these products. And then people are buying them and going, this is junk. This doesn't work. This is a ripoff. And you get all the comments of, and because people don't understand pest biology. People don't understand how pests, grow, how they breed, how they multiply, and what rate do they multiply. And if you don't understand the pest biology, you can have all the product in the world. You can go to any website, buy the same products that we buy professionally, and you still won't get results. As a matter of fact, you can end up hurting yourself and hurting other people by doing that, because you don't have the hours of training and the years of experience of messing it up, where we figured out, oh, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, oh yeah, this works. And we spend endless hours trying to figure it out in the industry. And you think that you're just going to buy a product and apply it to your property and get control because you saw a video online on how it was done. We do that in our business. We try to educate our customers because we realize that 80% of people are coming to us and, not wanting to buy. But I get calls all the time. People ask me to come out to their house and then just to figure out how we're going to do it to do the pest control. Or they'll call us, get a comp price because they need 3 prices, because they're a property manager and they need 3 prices, and they just want us to come out and give an estimate. They have no intention of buying from us, but they want us to come out and comp and we consult every customer. This is why we do a lot of phone consulting before we decide to take a customer, because we know this is happening in our market. We know it. And all these people are calling wanting natural products, and when they figure out we got to be there on a weekly basis, they're like, oh my God, I can't afford that. So anyway, that's going to be my rant on this for the day. I wanted to get into the actual law. So December 29, 2015, this is the actual press release from the Environmental Protection Agency. The Environmental Protection Agency has published a rule to clarify the substances on the minimum risk pesticide ingredient list and the way ingredients are identified on product labels. Minimum risk pesticides are a special class of pesticide that are not required to be registered with EPA because their ingredients, both active and inert, pose little to no risk to human health or the environment. The agency is recognizing these lists and adding specific chemical identifiers to make clear the manufacturers, the public, and federal and state tribal inspectors the specific ingredients that are permitted in minimum risk pesticide products EPA is also requiring requiring producer contact information and the use of specific common chemical names in lists of ingredients on minimum risk pesticide products. This is from the EPA website. We have a link to this ruling, but also we have a link to the actual ruling that was made under regulations.gov that was put in place, and it talks everything about what is needed in this law. And basically they have to comply between February 26, which is when the rule is effective, February 26 of 2016, and the new requirement must be in place. In other words, everybody must be in compliance by February 26 of 2019. So you've got 3 years to comply with the labeling on this law. And what is included in that is that not only for the first time, they have to tell you which is the active ingredients that are in there, but also the inert ingredients. And what is an inert ingredient? For a lot of people that are listening that don't know what an inert ingredient is, an inert ingredient can be anything from a synergizer, something that enhances that product to make it work better. It could be a surfactant that makes it stick to the leaves, and that way it'll last. But those products, even though they're inert, they don't kill the pest, they could have consequences on the environment, just like the active ingredient does. So now the inert ingredient and the active ingredient must be on the label, and they must be also on the exempt list. So in other words, you can't add a Synergent product that is not on the inert ingredient list, because then you will have to register it as a pesticide, and that's going to cost you, $1.5 billion to get that product tested and out into the market. And this is why pesticides are so expensive, because of all the regulation that they have to go through, all the tests that have to be done. By the time you get it to market, you've got $1.5 billion in a new product, and that's why we're not seeing a whole lot of new chemicals out there. So this is, I think it's great for the industry. I think it's great for us professionals that now they all have to play by the same rules we have to play. And of course, the industry is up in arms. They're complaining that this is going to add unneeded regulation to our product, and this is going to add, so much cost because of this new labeling. And now we have to use, classifications for this, and the cost is so the prices are going to go up. Well, guess what? That's the same rules that every professional manufacturer has to play by. And I think if you're making a product and you're putting it out there and you're making claims, that you need to be able to prove what is in there. And we're going to get into that, how that actually works, because a lot of people have no clue how this actually works, and we're going to get into that. The code that governs it's the Title 40, Article 152.125 of the Code of Federal Regulations by FIFRA, which is the industry that, the regulation that controls the pest control industry on the federal level. And now there's an exemption for these products in that law that allows them not to have to register it, but now they have to disclose what is in there. All right, so what are the conditions? And this is really neat for us to understand. What are the conditions that are required for a product to become an exempt product according to the EPA? And we got a link to the minimum risk pesticides conditions for this on the website, on the show notes. But the number one condition is the product's active ingredient must only be those that are listed on the 40 CFR 152.25, the regulation I just read. They have to be on that list, and they can only choose from products. The inert and the active ingredients both have to be on that list. Okay, so these are products that are commonly consumed by animals, feed, commodities, so they have to be on there. That's the second condition. The third condition is all of the active ingredients, both active and inert, must be listed on the label. The active ingredients must be listed by label display name, percentage, by weight. Each inert ingredient must be listed by label display name. right? Condition 4, must not bear claims either to control or mitigate organisms that pose a threat to human health or insects or rodents carrying specific diseases. In other words, you can't claim on that product that if you're using it for mosquitoes, kills mosquitoes that spread, West Nile virus, using the virus in conjunction with the mosquito to create a perceived threat that isn't there, and claim that it kills that product that spreads that disease, and they're limiting it so you can't make those claims. Condition 5, the name of the producer, the company, the contact information must be displayed prominently on the label. In other words, there has to be the name, a company address, the same thing that professional companies have to do now when their products. So you're not getting a product in from China somewhere and then just slapping your label on it and claiming you're manufacturing. And that goes on a lot because you don't want to be in the manufacturing business. You can be a blender and you can just buy the product from China with no regulation, bring it in, and then claim it's made in the USA, and the product is actually manufactured in China. And you just blended it here. You added the surfactant, or you added the emulsifier, or you added the synergist, and it's not made in the USA. You bought the components somewhere else. The condition of the label cannot include any false or misleading statements. Okay, so pretty much like vitamins, you can't claim that a vitamin cures something because then it has to be registered by the Food and Drug Administration. So it helps them play by the same rules that we have to play by. All right, so now what are the lists? Well, they just revised the list of the active ingredients that are in that list and whether they can be used for food and non-food environments. A food environment, a lot of people get confused with this, and this is where I go to a lot of restaurants, and we go to a lot of facilities that are using pesticides made for households, and they're trying to do pest control in their own business, and the product is labeled for non-food, and they're saying, what's the difference? I can use it in my house. Why can't I use it in the kitchen, in the restaurant? It's the same thing, and it's not, because you're not preparing food for consumption by the environment, and now the public health is at risk. And these products are labeled now to be which active ingredient can be used in non-food. For instance, you can use cedar oil in non-food environments. In other words, you can use cedar oil on your plant. You can use cedar oil in your kitchen, in your home. It's not considered, your home is not considered a food use environment. But you can't then go and use cedar oil because it's all natural and then use it inside of a restaurant, or use it inside a place where food is either being prepared, being stored, or being packaged. It cannot be used. All right, so that's what it makes that clarification now on the label that it cannot be used, and it has to specify. I guess they're going to make it specify. We'll have to see if, cannot be used. I mean, the professional products that we use, like if you use Ecovia from Rockwell Labs, it tells you what a non-food environment is and what a food environment is. All right, and it's on their label already. But they're a professional company. They make a professional product. And they're not making, snake oil to sell over the counter to unsuspecting buyers simply because, it says it's all natural, it's eco-friendly, it's non-toxic, and making all these claims on a product. They can no longer do that. Now, also the inert ingredient, like if you used, malic acid in there to, or you use any other type of product like zinc, or you have to now display it. And there's a list there. It also now enters into a whole new area where they have to use the CAS registry. And what is the CAS registry? Well, the CAS registry is basically a database of registered components, registered chemistry, registered materials, and it is a ginormous database of 105 million organic and inorganic substances with 66 million sequences. Okay, and they're adding about 15,000 chemical substances a day to that database. It is just ginormous. When we have no idea that there are that many chemical substances out there. This is where, if you don't understand chemistry, you don't understand biology, you should not even be touching a pesticide or applying it anywhere. I mean, that's just the way it is, because you don't understand all that is involved in getting this done. And you're thinking it's just, what, if I just spray it here and I spray it there, a little bit here, a little bit, on the cheek and a little bit under the armpits, and we're going to be just fine. No, there's a whole lot going on here. And now they have to use the CAS registry, which we have a link to, by the way. You can go on there. You can check all the chemical active ingredients. And now they have to use those numbers and put it on the label. Why is this so important? Here's the difference. Let's say you want to use, we're going to pick one chemical ingredient, cedar oil. It says, the label says 100% cedar oil. Well, they're using no other ingredient but cedar oil. Well, that's misleading, because it's not 100%, because you now have to use an emulsifier. Cedar oil does not blend with water by itself. You might have to use an emulsifier to get it to blend. Therefore, it's no longer 100%. Second of all, which cedar oil did you use? And you're saying, but cedar oil is cedar oil. No, it's not. Is it Texas cedar oil? Is it Virginia cedar oil? Is it Chinese cedar oil? Where did it come from? Where was it derived? How was that derived? Did they use pressure and steam to get it out of there at 6,000 psi? What is the alcohol content that was used to derive it? So all of that now is in the CAS. And how that derived, how much cedrol, which is the active ingredient in cedar oil, is actually in there. Is it 15% or is it 60%? Is it a combination? So now, if you're going to go and you're going to use a number that the EPA has to use, which is cedar oil 85085-29-6, which is cedar oil from China. But there's also cedar oil from Texas, which is 68990-83-0. And cedar oil Virginia 800-27-9. You see, it tells you exactly which cedar oil was used. And then, according to the registration of that product, the process of how that was derived, whether it was used steam or whether they used freezing, I think they used nitrogen or hydrogen at minus 25 degrees at 1500 psi, which gets you a more volume, but it actually gets you less cedrol concentration. So you get more volume of oil, but the actual cedrol and the quality of the cedrol is actually less than using that high pressure steaming to get it out, which you get less oil, but you get a higher quality of oil. And this is important because you don't know what you're buying. You can say it's food grade, and it could be food grade, but to what purity? So in other words, if you're using the CAS number 470-46-6 with this digoxipine, I think I'm pronouncing that right, it's 60.4 Texas oil mixed with 27.6 Virginia oil. Oh, what about Cedrine? Well, that's 469-61-4, which only gets you 1.8% Texas oil and 27.2% Virginia oil. Do you see the difference? There's a huge difference. Which that first one is almost 100% pure cedar oil. I mean, when you add 27.6, you're getting 88% pure cedar oil, versus the second one, which you're getting about 29% cedar oil. And now the customer and even professional people that want to buy and say, well, yeah, this is junk oil. It really, when you look at a price of one and you're saying this one is $80 a gallon and this one is $35 a gallon, well, yeah, no duh. The quality of the active ingredients are much less. And you're saying, I'll just buy the cheaper one because it's the same thing. It's 100% cedar oil. Why is this guy ripping me off? This guy's not ripping you off. He's giving you a superb quality of a cedar oil, and the quality of how it was derived and how it was processed, it's much greater. So anyway, guys, that's what's going on in the industry. And I think it is vital, because the only reason the EPA would have done this is because of the increased number of the popularity of these products are increasing. People are becoming more and more used to it. It went from using it in laundry detergent. I mean, I remember decades back when, Melaleuca, a company that was selling, tea tree oil, was making all these kinds of products with tea tree oil. This is nothing new. They've started that. It was a super premium, high price product that was made with tea tree oil. And now this is becoming mainstream to where I go to the counters in the supermarket, and there's an actual shelf taking up space in a supermarket with all these natural products that you can use for cleaning. And now they're making their way into the pest control business. And I think there is a huge market and a huge opportunity, but you have to be transparent and you have to be real with customers and say, look, don't expect from this what you would get from this, but you don't get the contamination. And when organizations come out and say that, well, you can do it for the same price that, you can hire a professional to do it. Well, yeah, you can, but that's you doing it. And that's a big difference, guys. And people don't understand all the costs involved in us having to do this business in the industry. It's very, very costly to put a van out on the road. That's going to cost you, that van on the road running is going to cost you, that truck is going to cost you, $2,000 to $3,000 a month just to have it on the road. A mobile warehouse. And there's a cost involved in doing that, where you can just go to your hardware store on your day off, buy the product for $15 a gallon, come home and spray it, and you still have ants 2 weeks later, you still have roaches 2 weeks later. You're dealing with this a year later because you're thinking, oh, it's just a chemical. And it's not. You go online and buy it, and you're thinking you're going to apply it, and you start applying that Termidor to your kitchen because, you heard it cures everything, and all of a sudden you're wondering why you have a problem that got out of control in your hands. And, a lot of building owners, are doing this. I had one building owner that had a 60,000 square foot building. And they decided, a new property manager came in and decided they need to cut costs. And they gave us a call and says, we're canceling our service because we're going to be doing it ourselves. Really? Well, in the state of Florida, you need a license. And the person applying that chemical needs a limited pest control license for structural. You need to go take a class. You need to go get a license. You need to carry the insurance. And he's the only one that can apply it. And, well, we'll deal with that. They canceled it. It wasn't 6 months later. They had German roaches. They had American roaches. They had all kinds of problems. They called us in back and said, look, we need you to take it back because, we're having all these calls and complaints. So we took the account back. And we had it under control in a couple of weeks because it was getting out of control. And this is the problem with people thinking they can do things themselves, thinking that, and you do. And in some states, you don't need a license. In the state of Florida, if you have a restaurant and you want to do your own pest control, you better go take a class. You better because now you have a situation where the public is at risk. And you just went in and you bought that spray thing and you sprayed your entire kitchen down. And now all your pots and all your pans and all your surfaces are contaminated. And guess what? You violated the label. You violated that label where it says you cannot apply it to surfaces or in food service facilities. And now you have, and the poor schmuck that comes after you who has to do the pest control, he's sitting there going, I don't get it. What's going on here? And then if you don't have good records, he's going to take the heat for you messing up. So, those are the breaks. Those are the things that are going on in our industry. And I think we have to step out and talk about these things because nobody wants to, I read things and everybody wants to be politically correct and everybody just wants to, not cause any ripples. And, We in the pest control industry are taking heat for stuff we're not doing. And I think we do need to step out and talk about it. I think we do need to expose what's going on in the world that we actually live in, so that people can understand that this is what we do is right up there with electricians. What we do is right up there with high-level technicians. What we do is not easy. What we do, everybody thinks it's just a guy with a can coming in and spraying everything, and it's not it. And I was reading a blog over the weekend about not being ashamed of your B&G and not being afraid to be called a baseboard jockey. And I think that if you're only providing a baseboard service and you're in there 15 minutes and you're out the door and you're the cheapest guy on the block, you deserve the title of a baseboard jockey. And you're giving the industry a black eye when that's the only service that you provide. And a lot of it down here is that I see a ton of baseboard jockeys charging restaurants $35 a month to come in, spray for German roaches with orthane, and basically get it all over the place. And then it smells like rotten dead animals the next day. But that's okay, because you don't care as a business owner that your entire restaurant just got contaminated. All those pots and pans, you have to wash them. All that bottom surface, you have to wash. And, you're feeding all these pesticides to your customers. And you don't care. And I think that is a huge problem in our industry, that we need to step it up. And we need to say, no, that's not pest control. That's not what we consider integrated pest management. That's not what's best for you. That's not what's best for your customer. That's not what's best for anybody in this industry. And I think that's where we're headed. I think we need to step that up and be vocal about that and educate our customers, and, be willing to walk away from the customers that want the cheapest service. They don't care to be contaminated. They don't care that their entire facility is being done. And then on top of that, living under false assumptions that everything is going to be handled and taken care of, and they're not going to have any problems. So guys, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for the emails. Thank you so much for the likes. Thank you for sharing the podcast. We really do appreciate it. Until next time, folks, have a great one.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.